All right, everybody, we are back. Second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Of course, if there was a first, always falls a second. We've been doing this now for somewhere around 8 years or so. Love being able to answer all things wellness, weight loss, weight gain, body transformation, high performance health, you name it. We talk about it on the show. It's all your questions. So if you ever want to write in, you want your question read live on the show, probably take about 8 weeks or so to read live. You can ask it at stephencabral.com/askcabral. If you ever have customer service questions, just email support@equa.life. And if you want your question answered by our amazing health coaches, same day, you can write in at cabralsupportgroup.com. So we'll find a way to help you. Just write in, let us know. We will be there. Let's dive into today's questions. Today's questions are at stephencabral.com/3341. And if you didn't tune into yesterday's show, you can do that after today. All right. So the first question is from Kay. Kay says, "Hi, Dr. Brawl. About a year ago, before I discovered you and your podcast, my husband and I invested in $4,000 Tempur-Pedic mattress. I know that memory foam is generally synthetic, and I was wondering if you have any recommendations to reduce the toxic effects. The instructions when we first received the mattress were to allow it to air out for a day, in air quotes, which we did. We now also sleep with an air filter in our bedroom. Any other suggestions or comments about Tempur-Pedic or memory foam in general? Thank you." Okay. Yes. So how many years ago was this? A year ago or so? I think about a year ago. All right. Well, here's the issue. A lot of these synthetic things, and I'm teaching this now in the IHP3 certification on environmental toxicities. We've got parabens, phthalates, volatile organic compounds, these flame retardants that are all part of these products, and they need to off gas. That's the real issue. Now, they say let it air out for a day because it's so toxic, right? But it's really toxic for about 2 to 3 days and still toxic for a solid 2 to 3 weeks. After that, it is off-gassed the largest amount. Does it slowly off-gas a little bit more after that? Yes, but the largest amount, luckily, off-gas within the first month. Okay, so what's done is done. The nice thing is healthy people can generally detox these things, and they're no worse for the wear. Now, for those that maybe are looking to do more, of course, the plants in the bedroom is a great thing. I talked about air filter and plants. The air filter, great recommendations. All of those are at stephencabral.com/resources. They're all my things I use in my own house. And then what could you use right away? Well, you can actually use charcoal bags. I don't know that I've ever recommended those. That might be a Friday review. I'm going to put it in for next week. Charcoal. I'm going to put that in. Charcoal bags. So what I did when I first got my new truck is it had that new car smell. I can't avoid that, right? So what do? Obviously, hope it's not raining, roll down all the windows, okay? You want to get it a little into the sun or the heat. It off-gasses faster in the heat. And then what I do is I have 6 of these charcoal bags, like these. It's literally this, like take 2 hands of grip it like a basketball. That's how big they are. Maybe not that big. They're more like a volleyball size. And I put them under the seats. And what that did was it soaked up a lot of those fumes. So that's what I recommend on top of the mattress. And you can also, if you wanted to, sprinkle a little baking soda if you have this outside, let it absorb into that. And then, of course, you can just vacuum that off, shake it off, vacuum it off. So hopefully that was helpful, Kay. All right, Anonymous is up next. Anonymous says, "Hi. This has been happening for a while, and I'm wondering what it means. When I wake up, the inside of my nose stings quite a bit. Sometimes it also happens during the day, or it lasts throughout the day, but mostly it's worse as soon as I wake up. It's really annoying, and then I usually rub my nose on the outside a lot until it subsides, but it's so weird. I have no idea why it's happening. Please help." Okay, so there's something a little bit different. There's tingling, which can be more of a sensitivity, allergy-based sensation. Some people, when they wake up, if there's a lot of, I know it sounds gross, but dust mites on their pillow or dust mites on their mattress, remember, wash your sheets once a week, hot water, keep a mattress pad over your mattress. So any dust mites from the mattress, because remember, these things are stored in factories, doesn't come into your environment. And then your pillows, make sure that ideally I like to have a pillow dust mite cover and then the pillowcase over it. So that's one of the best ways to do it. And then, of course, again, remember, your skin comes off and creates dust as well, and that no bigger place than the bed as well. So that's a big thing. Anything you pick up from the outside, especially if there's pollen in the air, if it's like pollen-based season, you might want to shower before bed. All of those things can cause like little allergy tingling in the nose. But let's say it's stinging. Stinging could be a dryness in the nose of the mucosa. And maybe you rubbing your nose starts to activate a little bit more of the mucus, which is actually true. Like that actually can happen. Rubbing your eyes, that's why you bring more of a histamine reaction. Not necessarily a good thing, but it certainly brings more of a reaction right to the eyes. So the stinging of the nose, it's interesting because I can't pinpoint exactly what this may be. And I have to give you my disclaimer now. I can't provide any medical diagnosis, treatment plans, cures, or medical advice in any way. But what I might try to do is put just 2 drops or so, you can lean your head back, put 2 drops of what's called nausea oil in your nasal passages. If they are dry, this will certainly help a lot. You can do it before bed. And then again, let it sink in there for at least 5 minutes if you were to blow your nose. And you just kind of rub, you can kind of push the insides and outsides of your nose, but you want to let that oil get into your sinuses and nasal passages. And that's that. So it's called NASYA, nausea oil. Look for an organic brand. Typically, sesame oil is the base oil. All right? Right back in if you have any other concerns. Lindsay's up next. Lindsay says, hi, Dr. Paul. I looked over your information already, given on acid reflux. I have 2 questions. What are the long-term effects of omeprazole? What is a natural alternative? Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, so I talked about this yesterday on the show. I'm going to be doing a whole show. I've already done shows on acid reflux. So go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in acid reflux or stomach acid or anything like that, and you'll find a bunch of shows. Also, if you want how to completely heal your gut, go to stephencabral.com/courses, click on the one on digestion. It will teach you everything you ever wanted to know and more on how to fix your gut-based issues or female hormone issues or thyroid-based issues. There's a course on detoxification. That one's free. So anyway, there's lots there. Okay, so, there's a lot of issues with taking omeprazole. First of all, acid blockers, the recommendation is 2 weeks. Why? Because they can cause nausea and headaches and skin rashes and dizziness and lightheadedness and all sorts of issues in the short term. And in the long term, we know that stomach acid is needed, a healthy level, because it stops calcium absorption, B12 absorption, zinc, and many other issues. It also doesn't allow your protein to be properly broken down. And then it can lead to SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It can potentially lead to even things like, and again, I'm doing a whole show on this, but I'm kind of giving you the show because these things all get stuck in my head. But it can lead to potentially cancer and other issues. So I'm not saying these are going to happen. I'm not saying they're going to happen, right? But what I am saying is let's find the underlying root cause. So run the Big 5 labs. That's the best thing that you can do. stephencabral.com/big and then the number 5. And if you can't do that, at the very least, run the Vitamin Tox test. That's our starter kit. That's 2 of the Big 5. Great place to start. That's what we need to do. All right. Because we need to find the underlying root cause, because there's always an underlying root cause of imbalanced acid. All right. And lots of shows in this as well, talking about hiatal hernias and low stomach acid production and issues with the lower esophageal sphincter and so much more. All right, Anonymous is up next. And by the way, all of those labs that you run, they come with a personalized wellness plan for you and a coaching call, lab results call to walk you through it. All right. So we've got you. Anonymous is up next. Hello, Dr. C. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out regarding an issue I've been experiencing. I've noticed an increase in heart rate after consuming alcohol. I've never had any issues with occasional drinking prior. However, since having my first child and taking nearly 2 years off alcohol, I'm now experiencing a raise in heart rate whenever I drink. I've tried staying well hydrated beforehand, but the issue persists. I've done a FM detox, a parasite detox in this 2-year period as well. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what might be changing, especially since it wasn't a problem in the past. Could it be a histamine issue or an overflowing rain barrel still? Yeah, that's a great question. I'm assuming that there's no new issues and that your body's actually gotten healthier, but that doesn't mean now that you've taken alcohol out of your diet for a couple years, that when you introduce it, you actually are having a reaction to the ethanol, to the poison. Again, like keep in mind, like the reason we get alcohol's effects is because we're poisoning our body. We don't like to think of it that way, but we're giving it a little bit of poison. And that poison gives us the kind of psychoactive, feelings. The part of it is there's a positive improvement in neurotransmitters. And then, of course, there's a depressive issue the next day. So we get a little benefit that night. We feel good and all that. Of course, it affects our sleep. It drops our HRV, doesn't allow our body temperature to drop. Typically, heart rate stays up and breath rate increases. So not good for sleep quality, right? And so that leads to energy and issues and fatigue the next day. So it absolutely could be a histamine mast cell-based issue. Let me just give you something to think about ahead of time. Before you start to consume alcohol, try taking 2 capsules of the universal binder, okay? Take that 20 minutes to 30 minutes before drinking and have some food in. So first take the binders, okay? Then you can have some food if you'd like, then have a little bit of the alcohol. That will serve as a little bit of a buffer so that it's not just flowing right into your body, and that might do the trick. And also try the type of alcohol you're drinking. Sometimes people just react greater to red wine, not as much with white wine. Sometimes there's no real reaction to something like a non-aged tequila. What do they call that? Like a Blanco, something like that. Again, a clear tequila, non-aged, with some soda water and a squeeze of lime, something like that, or maybe a splash of cranberry. I don't know, however you want to do it, right? But a clean one like that, it could even be a vodka or something like that. But people just seem to do better with tequila for whatever reason. So, and then a non-aged. All right, so try that. That'll be lower histamines and you can give it a shot. All right, Jennifer is up next. She'll actually be our last question of the day. That is you, Jennifer. Let's see what Jennifer is asking. They're actually short questions today. Thank you for all you do, Dr. Cabral. Appreciate that. Your energy and drive inspires me. My dad has to take warfarin to thin his blood. What might be the root causes for thickening of the blood? Where do I start? Yes, so a great question. So when we look at what may cause thickening of the blood, there are more than a dozen reasons. So here's the thing. Don't think just thickening of the blood. Think narrowed blood vessel pathways, right? So think of your arteries and or veins, but think of those arteries as a tube. Now, of course, they're not as thick as, let's say, a tube of toilet paper or even a straw. But think about that. If, let's just say, that tube of toilet paper or paper towels went down to the size of a straw, be harder to push the blood through, right? Well, now think about having to thin the blood. That's why it's also done. So it's not just thickening of the blood, it's actually a narrowing of the pathway. So it can be an increase in fibrin, an increase in inflammation, additional or built up plaque, hard plaque as well as soft plaque in the body. So here's what we do. Of course, we want your dad to run his blood work, but with us, we run the Big 5. So that is absolutely the best place to start. Okay, so you can have narrowing of the arteries because of high levels of cortisol and stress, right? Imbalances in thyroid, low vitamin D. Why? Because vitamin D helps with nitric oxide production. And as we get older, we start to produce less nitric oxide. So all of these things matter, especially if your dad's one of those people that uses mouthwash. That decreases nitric oxide production. So there's so many different reasons. But our job is to find all of your dad's deficiencies and all of his toxicities and help him to rebalance his body. That is what we do. That is what an integrative health practitioner does. If you want to find out more about integrative health practitioners, head on over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org, how you can become the health coach in your home, which would be amazing for all of you. But also, if you want us to help you or your dad find whatever the underlying root causes are that are keeping you imbalanced, head on over to StephenCabral.com/Big5 or just StephenCabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to Equilife. That is our virtual functional medicine integrative health practice where we help people all over the world to improve their overall health and wellness and really get back the body and health and wellness they deserve. So that is that for today's show. Of course, I'm back every single day on the Cabral Concept. All shows are at StephenCabral.com/podcast. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll talk with you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.